Okay,
Got it.
got it.
And
Got it.
also, do you know of another Krishna book tune other than the morning tune? Another one I know is Krishna, 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 Krishna,
Okay,
Krishna, Krishna, hey. Is that the other one you know, or is there another one?
I don't know. I don't know other ones. She has a new one with the Krishna, 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 hey. Oh, Genevieve Harrison has one. Marie says
How's it going?
with awesome. Willow Smith. Yeah, but I don't know it.
All right, so I'll just sing the
Okay, I'm going mute.
Krishna, 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 hey. 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 Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Paimam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Paimam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Lord Krishna, please protect us and maintain us. Oh Lord Rama, descendant of King Raghu, please protect us. Oh Krishna, oh Keshava, killer of the Keshi demon, please maintain us. The meeting of Usha and Annirudha. That's where we are tonight, folks. Jai, Daneshwar Prabhu is back in town once again. Hari Hari Bol. Welcome back, dear God. I'm getting a little echo. I don't know why. Do you have two devices on? No? Yes, no? Okay, so I'll start then. Krishna Chandra, are you going to read next, or you're not able because you're walking in the dark, or what's going on?
I can try to read. I think I can do it. I shouldn't have a problem.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. It looks like it's
I'll be
about a.
back.
Sorry.
I'm sorry too.
Okay, because yeah, there's some noise in the background there. I don't know how it's going to work, but anyway, I'll start.
In that case, I'll wait. I'll be home soon.
Okay, cool. Then Bavatrini after me then. Okay. The meeting of Usha and Aniruddha. The meeting of Aniruddha and Usha, which caused a great fight between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva, is very mysterious and interesting. Maharaj Parikshit was anxious to hear the whole story from Shukadeva Goswami. And thus Shukadeva, there's some kind of noise coming in. I don't know what it is. And thus Shukadeva narrated it. Quote, "My dear king, you must have heard the name of King Bali. He was a great devotee who gave away in charity all that he had, meaning the whole world, to Lord Vamana, the incarnation of Vishnu as a dwarf Brahmin. King Bali had 100 sons, and the eldest of all of them was Banasura. This great hero, Banasura, born of Maharaj Bali, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and was always ready to render service unto him. Because of his devotion, he achieved a great position in society, and he was honored in every respect. Actually, he was very intelligent and liberal also, and his activities are all praiseworthy because he never deviated from his promise and word of honor. He was very truthful and fixed in his vow. In those days, he was ruling over the city of Shantipur. Oh, excuse me, Shonitapur. By the grace of Lord Shiva, Banasura had 1,000 hands. And he became so powerful that even demigods like King Indra were serving him as obedient servants. I'd just like to make a quick comment, if I may. I really appreciate this statement. No? Okay.
I said, oh.
Oh, you had the mic on.
Whatever you say, you're my seniors.
I said yes.
Oh, I thought he said, no, you can't. That's one of my jokes. Okay.
Was there controversy? I read some that.
Okay, so what I'm appreciating here about Bali Maharaj, it describes he never deviated from his promise and word of honor, and he was very truthful and fixed in his vow. So a few years back, I had the good fortune, actually I did this 3 times. I went to Alachua, once was in North Carolina, and another time in Montreal, where Dhira Govinda Prabhu, I lived with Dhira Govinda Prabhu. He was on, because I served Dhanavir Maharaj for a year and a half on his Krishna Fest party. And so Dhira Govinda was kind of part of that wing because he had been one of the preachers in Israel with his wife. So anyway, he developed this course called the Life Skills Transformational Workshop. And he stressed in that course about how we cannot be anything more than our word. We are our word is what defines our existence, our being, if I understood from him correctly. And he further elaborated that we make promises to others that we break, and others make promises to us that they break, and we make promises to ourselves that we break. So we're living in a land or a life of broken promises. And then he gave the analogy of walking through um, an old house, and you walk in the door of this old uh, house, and it's very dark inside. And as you walk, there's like old pieces of metal and different things on the floor. And as you're trying to walk through it, you're like banging your foot and scraping and cutting yourself. And so, like, that's like the land of broken promises, all these broken pieces there. And then, but at the end of the other side of the house, there's a back door, it's open, and there you see the people that you know that actually love you and accept you the way you are. They're waiting for you. Anyway, it was just a nice exercise, and it helped me to reflect that, yeah, I lack integrity because I don't always make promises to myself that I keep. I don't always keep promises that I make to others, like, okay, I'll meet you at a certain time, and then I come late or I don't even show up. So the point being that how can we have relationships with one another if we're undependable, unreliable, breaking promises? How can people trust us? How can, like Prabhupada said, your love for me will be shown by how nicely you cooperate with one another after I am gone to keep this, mission together. I'm paraphrasing. So I've often thought about that. That's such a heavy, heavy statement because cooperate, because cooperation is based on love and trust, right? And once that trust is broken, it's really hard to rebuild it, isn't it? So anyway, does anyone have a thought they'd like to share on that point before I move on?
Yes.
Daneshwar Prabhu, yeah.
Yeah. First thing is that we don't know if Prabhupada said that. This is what Tamal said Prabhupada said. And
Right, it's in the Lilamrita. It's in one of the last volumes. They're sitting in the back of a car, and Satsarup, I think, is quoting Tamal. Yeah.
yeah. And so I am very skeptical about anything that comes from that source.
Okay.
And the second thing is, regarding Dear Govinda and his course, yeah, that's right. I remember I took the first course, and the way he did that was very interesting. When there was time for a break, he asked, okay, well, everybody agreed to be back in the room in 15 minutes.
Right.
And ready to go.
Right.
He got everybody's consent.
Right.
And then when, of course, as usual, several people did not come back in time. And he very politely just asked them, will you please acknowledge that you did not keep your word? And it's a small item, but it was very instructive in how he did that. He did it several other times to reinforce that point that, we say things casually, we give our acknowledgement or our agreement casually, and then without thinking about it, we don't fulfill our word. And so thank you for bringing this up and going over that point, because it's something that we all do, or at least, okay, I do as well. And, I do it at least quite unconsciously. Just like in that example that I gave, Dear Govinda, asking everybody to be back in 15 minutes. So, we would do well to be reminded of this practically on a daily basis.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I wasn't sure exactly how you're going to reflect back because some devotees might say, that's just a bunch of New Age stuff. Just chant Hare Krishna and read Prabhupada's books. But I mean, I know one devotee that's like that. I'm not going to mention any names. And I just realized, well, I really can't have these kinds of discussions with him. Because
I guess he would fail Dear Govinda's course.
Well, he's a devotee that has a high level of integrity as well. So I don't know exactly how he would deal with that. Baba Trini and Hari, do you have any thoughts on this point of Bali Maharaj, how he kept his word, had a lot of integrity, and how that plays out in our own relationships? Do you have something to say about that? You looks like you're frozen. I can't tell. Okay, then Daneshwar Prabhu, I'll just find the page, and if you'd like to continue, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to speak now.
Bazi, I do have some. Hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear? Nuri was talking. Could you hear him? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear
Didn't
me?
hear anything. Now I'm hearing you. Yes, yes, yes. Please speak.
Okay.
Speak now, or
Okay.
hold your peace.
All right. So, yeah, and talking.
Oh, your
Yeah.
voice is
Forever.
broken
Okay.
up. Your voice is really broken up.
I am speaking. I don't know if you can hear me. The promise.
Can we wait until you're in a better location, because it's like
Okay, yeah, we're in a bad reception area. And who was where? Yes, yes. Okay, all right.
I'm interested in what you have to say, but it just sounds really like you're on LSD or something. Okay, Daneshwar Prabhu, let's continue. Okay, this great hero.
We'll do that.
Thank you. Yourself, you sound like you're having a bad LSD trip.
No, it's a piano recital. Why don't you mute him, Gaura?
Yeah, okay. I'll do that. Okay.
The one that he would be the one that took it.
I can't mute them. I want to mute you, Hari, Pavatrini. Can you mute yourselves? Because you're just like, we're having a hard time moving ahead right now. Okay, great.
Well, okay, that took care of that problem.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Daneshwar. Thank you. Prabhu.
It wasn't us. We're not mute. We've been muted up until this second.
Okay.
So the noise isn't from us.
Okay. Will you read, Daneshwar Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the coast to get clear.
Okay.
Okay. Did we read this paragraph?
No, we just ended. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're a good listener. All right.
Long ago, when Lord Shiva was dancing in his celebrated fashion called Tandava Nritya, for which he is known as Nataraj, Manasura helped Lord Shiva in his dancing by rhythmically beating drums with his 1,000 hands. Lord Shiva is well known as Asutosh, very easily pleased, and he is also very affectionate to his devotees. He is a great protector for persons who take shelter of him and is master of all living entities in this material world. Being pleased with Banasura, he said, "Whatever you desire, you can have from me, because I am very pleased with you." Banasura replied, "My dear Lord, if you please, you can remain in my city just to protect me from the hands of my enemies." Once upon a time, Banasura came to offer his respects to Lord Shiva. By touching the lotus feet of Lord Shiva with his helmet, which was shining like the sun globe, he offered his obeisances unto him. While offering his respectful obeisances, Banasura said, "My dear Lord, anyone who has not fulfilled his ambition will be able to do so by taking shelter of your lotus feet, which are just like desire trees. One can take from them anything he desires. My dear Lord, you have given me 1,000 arms, but I do not know what to do with them. Please pardon me, but it appears that I cannot use them properly in fighting. I cannot find anyone competent to fight with me except your lordship, the original father of the material world. Sometimes I feel great tendency to fight with my arms, and I go out to find a suitable warrior. Unfortunately, everyone flees, knowing my extraordinary power. Being baffled at not finding a match, I simply satisfy the itching of my arms by beating them against the mountains. In this way, I tear many great mountains to pieces and create gravel pits.
Good analogy. Krishna Chandra, are you there, Prabhu? Are you able to read, Krishna Chandra? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, I guess it's back to me then. Lord Shiva realized that his benediction had become troublesome for Parasura and addressed him. You rascal! You are very eager to fight, but since you have no one to fight you, you are distressed. Although you think that there is no one in the world to oppose you except me, I say that you will eventually find such a competent person. At that time, your days will come to an end, and your flag of victory will no longer fly. Then you will see your false prestige smashed to pieces. After hearing Lord Shiva's statement, Banasura became very puffed up with his power. He was elated that he would meet someone who would be able to smash him to pieces. But Banasura then returned home with great pleasure, and he always waited for the day when the suitable fighter would come to cut down his strength. Difficult. You studied some psychology, didn't you, Dineshwar Prabhu?
A little bit, yeah.
Difficult to understand the psychology of Banasura. He's actually looking forward to getting beaten.
No, this is one of the qualities of Rajagun, a rash eagerness to fight.
Uh-huh. Even if you lose.
Yeah, well, you know, men of that quality, they enjoy a fight. I mean, you know,
A good fight, as they say, a good fight.
Yeah. So they want to test their strength upon a worthy opponent. It's not at all unusual for the masculine psychology.
Right. I found it unusual that he was even looking forward to having his strength cut down.
Well, I think Lord Shiva should have engaged him in being the mridanga player for some appropriate temple or someplace.
He could play 100 mridangas at the same time.
Yeah, I know.
He was such a foolish demon. It appears that foolish demonic human beings, when unnecessarily overpowered with material opulences, want to exhibit these opulences, and such foolish people feel satisfaction when these opulences are exhausted. The idea is that they do not know how to expend their energy for right causes, being unaware of the benefit of Krishna consciousness. Actually, there are two classes of men. One is Krishna conscious, the other is non-Krishna conscious. The non-Krishna conscious men are generally devoted to the demigods, whereas the Krishna conscious men are devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna conscious persons utilize everything for the service of the Lord. The non-Krishna conscious persons utilize everything for sense gratification. And Banasura is a perfect example of such a person. He was very anxious to utilize for his own satisfaction his extraordinary power to fight. Not fighting any combatant, he struck his powerful hands against the mountains, breaking them into pieces. In contrast to this, Arjuna also possessed extraordinary powers for fighting, but he utilized them only for Krishna. So when I was reading this paragraph, Dineshwar Prabhu, I was thinking a little bit about the theme of your book, and I was wondering if you felt inspired to make any reference to your book and what is being described here about the mentality of
Well, I wrote
demoniac.
about the demonic consciousness in my spiritual economics book. Is that the book you're referring to?
Right. No, I was referring to your more recent one.
Well,
The divine and demoniac.
yeah. I don't, you know, no, no, I'm sorry. I don't have anything directly to say about that in relationship to that book specifically.
Mm-hmm. Well, here it's just saying that the devotees, the demigods, they use everything to worship the Lord, and those who are demonic, they they wanted for sense gratification.
Yeah,
course-
well, they, okay, the idea is there, the demonic, they want the Lord to serve them. And so they use
Right.
whatever facility they have, whatever facility they acquire in the service of the Lord to also enhance their income or their position or something like that.
Uh-huh.
In relationship to that, I was speaking today with one devotee, Vivaswan in Tampa.
Oh, I know him. Yeah, we used to go
Yeah,
on books
and,
together. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was saying how the Ramia, he wants to he keeps encouraging Vivaswan to join the ISKCON, but he wants, really, you can see that he wants the temple and not Vivaswan. And Vivaswan told me today that in Orlando, where Trivikram Swami stayed there for many years and opened the Orlando temple and got it going, then the devotees, they asked Trivikram, and I called him about this, and I asked him, they asked him to step down from being president, because if you know him, he's a little rough sometimes.
A little heavy, yeah.
In his dealings with people.
Yeah.
So, okay, so he agreed to do that. He understood that. But now I heard from Vivaswan today that he's banned from his own temple.
Oh, wow.
And I have to call him and confirm that, find out what's going on. But Vivaswan said that Rumi is behind that. So, it's like, they're after the opulence and not the devotees. And this is so extremely unfortunate.
Wow.
To hear these things.
That's not the first time, though, is it?
By a long shot.
Yeah. Thank you for giving that as an example that's relevant to the times that we're living in. You please offer my obeisances to the Swan next time you talk to him.
Sure.
That's what we used to call him, the Swan, Viva Swan. We'd be out at the lights there together, and we go on Harinam together. I went with him down to there's what do they call it, like a Latin Quarter in downtown Tampa. There, a bunch of bars. We used to do Harinam, and I met Bo Diddley there. He came out of a bar. I went and I gave him a book. All right. So looks like Ananda Prabhu, Ananda Dev is here with us. Are you able to read, Ananda Dev?
Krishna Chandra is back home.
Yes. It's Ananda Dev, Krishna Chandra, and then Bhakta Connor. That's the order.
Okay.
Are you able to read, Ananda Dev?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Jai, welcome back, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming.
I'm grateful to share association.
Okay, so please talk about Banasura's beautiful daughter. Tell us.
Okay. Let's see. This is what's chapter and section?
I believe it's on the screen, but I believe it's chapter 62 of the entire Krishna book, with the marriage of Usha and Annirudha, the meeting of Usha and Annirudha. Excuse me. So I've got it queued up. Can you not see it on the screen?
Yeah, no, I was just curious where we were at.
Okay.
Banasura had a very beautiful daughter whose name was Usha. When she had attained the age of marriage and was sleeping amongst her many girlfriends, she dreamt one night that Annirudha was by her side and that she was enjoying a conjugal relationship with him, although she had never actually seen him nor heard of him before. She awoke from her dream, exclaiming very loudly, "My dear beloved, where are you?" Being exposed to her other friends in this way, she became a little bit ashamed. one of Usha's girlfriends was Chitralekha, who was the daughter of Banasura's prime minister. Chitralekha and Usha were intimate friends, and out of curiosity, Chitralekha asked, "My dear, beautiful princess, as of yet, are you not married to any young boy, nor have you seen any boys until now? So I am surprised that you are exclaiming this. Who are you searching after? Who is your suitable match?" On hearing Chitralekha's inquiries, Usha replied, "My dear friend, in my dream, excuse me, my dear friend, in my dream, I saw a nice young man who is very, very beautiful. His complexion is swarthy. His eyes are just like lotus petals, and he is dressed in yellow garments. His arms are very long, and his general bodily features are so pleasing that any young girl would be attracted. I feel much pride in saying that this beautiful young man was kissing me, and I was very much enjoying the nectar of his kissing. I'm sorry to inform you that just after this, he disappeared, and I have been thrown into the whirlpool of disappointment. My dear friend, I am very anxious to find this wonderful young man, the desired lord of my heart."
Krishna Chandra Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. After hearing Usha's words, Chitralekha immediately replied, "I can understand your bereavement, and I assure you that if this boy is within these three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems, I must find him for your satisfaction. If you can identify him from your dream, I shall bring you peace of mind. Now let me draw some pictures for you to inspect, and as soon as you find the picture of your desired husband, please let me know. It doesn't matter where he is. I know the art of bringing him here. So, as soon as you identify him, I shall immediately arrange for it." Chitralekha, while talking, began to draw many pictures of the demigods inhabiting the higher planetary systems. Then pictures of the Gandharvas, Siddhas, Charanas, Panagas, Daityas, Vidyadharas, and Yakshas, as well as many human beings. Statements of Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literature prove definitely that on each and every planet there are living entities of different varieties. Therefore, it is foolish to assert that there are no living entities but those on this earth. Chitralekha painted many pictures. Among those of the human beings was the Vrishni dynasty, including Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, Surasen, the grandfather of Krishna, Sri Balaramji, Lord Krishna, and many others. When Usha saw the picture of Pradyumna, she became a little bashful. But when she saw the picture of Annirudha, she became so bashful that she immediately lowered her head and smiled, having found the man she was seeking. She identified the picture to Chitralekha as that of the man who had stolen her heart.
I just find this fascinating to see how it was read that Chitralekha had the ability to, she says, "I know the art of bringing him here." I'm wondering, is that because she has mystic powers, or is it because she's a good artist, she can draw, and so therefore she's able to identify?
I feel like she had to have some cities just from, making such keen paintings of
Uh-huh. shows you how art is a valuable service. Prabhupada loved this artist very much, BBT artist. Okay, let's see who's up to bat here. Divija Garanga is here, yay! And then Bhakta Connor if he's free. Jai, Dvija, I see you in your usual place in the jungle.
That's correct.
I see you in your Babaji location there.
The jungle is virtual, but also literal. If you see behind that jungle, you won't want to see the other one.
Okay, are you able to read Vijay Garanga, Prabhu?
For sure. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay. Chitralekha was a great mystic yogini, and as soon as Usha identified the picture, although neither of them had ever seen him nor knew his name, Chitralekha could immediately understand that the picture was of Annirudha, a grandson of Krishna. That very night, she traveled in outer space, and within a very short time, she reached the city of Dwarka, which was well protected by Krishna. She entered the palace and found Annirudha sleeping in his bedroom on a very opulent bed. Chitralekha, by her mystic power, immediately brought Annirudha in that sleeping condition to the city of Shonitapur so that Usha might see her desired husband. Usha immediately bloomed in happiness and began to enjoy the company of Annirudha with great satisfaction. The palace in which Usha and Chitralekha lived was so well fortified that it was impossible for any male to enter or see inside, to either enter or see inside. Usha and Annirudha lived together in the palace, and day after day, the love of Usha for Annirudha grew 4 times upon 4 times. Usha pleased Annirudha with her valuable dresses, flowers, garlands, scents, and incense. By his bedside sitting place were other paraphernalia for residential purposes, nice drinks such as milk and sherbet, and nice edibles which could be chewed or swallowed. Above all, she pleased him with sweet words and very obliging service. Annirudha was worshipped by Usha as if he were the supreme personality of Godhead. By her excellent service, Usha made Annirudha forget all other things and was able to draw his attention and love upon her without deviation. In such an atmosphere of love and service, Annirudha practically forgot himself and could not recall how many days he had been away from his real home. So I'm going to keep going.
2 paragraphs.
That was 2.
Okay. Connor, are you able to read?
I'm actually just at work right now, so I'm just here to
Okay, you can just listen in. In due course of time, Usha exhibited some bodily symptoms by which it could be understood that she was having intercourse with a male friend. The symptoms were so prominent that her actions could no longer be concealed from anyone. Usha was always cheerful in the association of Annirudha, but she did not know the bounds of her satisfaction. Now, Danishwar Prabhu, could you please explain to me, how is it that, Usha must be like an expansion of Krishna's internal potency, I'm assuming. So how is it that she could be showing these symptoms? I mean, because they sound like material. Can you say something?
I mean, she was pregnant.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, what's the surprise?
Because doesn't she have a Satchidananda body?
No, they're in the material world. This is Bhoma Lila.
Okay.
And Bhoma Lila, everybody they're taking, material form.
Okay.
Except for Krishna.
Right.
And Balaram.
Uh-huh.
But everybody else, they assume. And weren't we discussing, or maybe it was with another reading group, but recently the discussion was that those devotees, no, that was another place. The devotees who, the eternal associates with Krishna who come to this world to participate in his pastimes, they take a material body with forgetfulness, just like we do, and they do not remember their place in the spiritual world and so on like that. So they're very much involved in the drama of Krishna's Leela.
Mm-hmm.
So, so she had a normal female body and he had a male body, and the union are producing a child.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Usha was always cheerful in the association of Annirudha, but she did not know the bounds of her satisfaction. The housekeeper and the watchman of the palace could guess very easily that she was having relations with a male friend, and without waiting for further development, all of them informed their master, Banasura. In Vedic culture, an unmarried girl having association with a male is the greatest disgrace to the family. And so the caretaker cautiously informed his master that Usha was developing symptoms indicating a disgraceful association. The servants informed their master that they were not at all neglectful in guarding the house, being alert day and night against any young man who might enter. They were so careful that a male could not even see what was going on there, and so they were surprised that she had become contaminated. Since they could not trace out the reason for it, they submitted the whole situation before their master. Banasura was shocked to understand that his daughter Usha was no longer a virgin maiden. This weighed heavily on his heart, and without delay he rushed towards the palace where Usha was living. There he saw that Usha and Annirudha were sitting together and talking. Usha and Annirudha looked very beautiful together, Annirudha being the son of Pradyumna, who was Cupid himself. Banasura saw his daughter and Annirudha as a suitable match, yet for family prestige, he did not like the combination at all. That's so funny because Annirudha is from Krishna's family, but because he's such a demon, he does not like the combination. Banasura,
Well, even for
yeah,
Lord Ramachandra, he was concerned with public opinion, right?
Mhm.
And he would go incognito and hear what the people are saying.
Right.
They were very careful about that
uh-huh.
because they're leaders. They're in a very high position.
Right.
So if they don't set the proper example, then it's not only hurts them, it hurts the entire society, because what a great man does, the common men follow.
Right. I'm just thinking how perverted that is. Normally, if one could be affiliated with Krishna's dynasty, that would be considered very glorious. But because he's a demon, he's thinking, "Oh, this is terrible. My daughter's."
Well,
Yes.
I don't think he knows it's Krishna's dynasty yet.
Okay.
That might be a secondary consideration.
Okay. Banasura could not understand who the boy actually was.
There
He
you go.
he appreciated the fact that Usha could not have selected anyone in the three worlds more beautiful. Anirudha's complexion was brilliant and swarthy. He was dressed in yellow garments and had eyes like lotus petals. His arms were very long. And he had nice curling bluish hair. Wow, that's become quite popular these days. Hasn't it? The glaring rays of his glittering earrings and the beautiful smile on his lips were certainly captivating. Still, Banasura was very angry. And that brings us to Krishna Chandra's next.
No, I am.
And who else has arrived here?
I
You're
am
next.
next.
Okay, go ahead, Prabhu. Yes,
When
please go
Banasura
next.
saw him, Annirudha was engaged in playing with Usha. Annirudha was very nicely dressed, and Usha had garlanded him with various beautiful flowers. The reddish kumkum powder put on the breasts of women was spotted here and there on the garland, indicating that Usha had embraced him. Banasura was struck with wonder that even in his presence, Annirudha was sitting peacefully. He knew, however, that his would-be father-in-law was not at all pleased, and that he was gathering many soldiers in the palace to attack him. Thus, not finding any other weapon, Annirudha took hold of a big iron rod and stood before Banasura and his soldiers. He firmly took a posture, indicating that if he were attacked, he would strike all of the soldiers down to the ground with the iron rod. Banasura and his company of soldiers saw that the boy standing before them was just like the superintendent of death with his invincible rod. Now, under the order of Banasura, the soldiers from all sides attempted to capture and arrest him. When they dared to come before him, Annirudha struck them with the rod, breaking their heads, legs, arms, and thighs. And one after they began to fall to the ground. This sounds like the fight from the Matrix.
Yeah.
He killed them just as the leader of a flock of hawks kills barking dogs one after the other. In this way, Annirudha was able to escape the palace.
Vijay Gauranga Prabhu.
Banasura knew various arts of fighting, and by the grace of Lord Shiva, he knew how to arrest his opposing enemy by the use of a nagapash, a snake noose. And so Annirudha was seized as he came out of the palace. When Usha received the news that her father had arrested Annirudha, she became overwhelmed with grief and confusion. Tears began to glide down her eyes, and being unable to check herself, she began to cry very loudly.
Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second volume, 7th chapter of Krishna, the medium Usha and Annirudha. So, in your estimation, Daneshwar Prabhu, what do you think are a couple of the main lessons for us to ponder in this chapter, or at least one? What stands out for you?
Well, the one that you spoke about first was keeping your word. That's a lesson for us. That we should be very thoughtful about keeping our word.
Mm-hmm. Dvija Garanga, and is anything stand out for you?
Well, I came in a little late, but what strikes me in the story, I don't know if it's particularly a lesson, but just the admiration of the character of Annirudha, who, I mean, in the face of this Banasura, pretty imposing character, and all of the soldiers, he's a real hero. It just strikes me as like, wow, that's amazing.
He's not showing any fear. He's just hanging out.
He has no fear. He's ready. He's ready to fight. And it's like, let's go. He could understand how intelligent he was. He could just understand what the intention was just by. Although he was completely bewildered and couldn't remember how long he'd been there. So it's also a testament to the nature of love and relationship. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Krishna Chandra Prabhu, anything from you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Prabhu. I'm all out.
It's okay. How is your mother doing right now?
They say she's doing a little better. She's just not out of the woods yet. They want to take out the ventilator tomorrow, and
good.
If her kidneys recover in the near future, like in the next day or two, then we're pretty much in the clear, hopefully.
Okay, Krishna willing.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes.
Have the sound on?
Nirhari and Bavatrini, yay, you made it home.
Did you plug it in the right hole?
Maybe not.
Can you hear me, Nirhari and Bavatrini? Can you hear me? Hello? Hare Krishna. I can't hear you. There's no volume. You're not muted. Because you were going to say something a little bit earlier about this point about keeping our word, being a man of our word, honoring our promises. And I hear you now, I think. You're coming through.
Something.
Hello? Yeah, okay, I can hear you. Hello? Bavatrini, Nirhari? You can't hear me. That is so weird. Hello? Can you hear us? No.
You have
What do we go for?
Hello, can you hear? Can you hear us?
This is like calling India in 1972.
Yeah, just now coming. India time. Okay, if they can't hear us, then I guess we'll. Ananda, anything that stand out for you from what we just read? Any reflections? Ananda?
Yeah, no, I came in kind of a bit late,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I'm just kind of just taking it in, pastimes
I got it.
of like Krishna's descendants. I hadn't really known a whole lot about his offspring and subsequent offspring. Like not, I'm just becoming familiar with these pastimes.
Fine. That's fine. So if Nirhari and Bavatrini cannot hear us, then we'll just continue on to the next chapter because I'm trying to get them to unmute. Looks like they unmuted. Can we hear you? No, we can't hear you. Okay, so we'll just go on to the next chapter then. So yeah, so we're just ending this chapter with Usha hearing that her beloved Annirudha just got locked up by her father, Banasura, and she's feeling very confused and she's crying really loudly. So now, Lord, yes?
I'm just curious about like Banasura and what distinguishes him as he's a demon, is correct?
Yes. He's also the son of Bali Maharaj.
Okay. So he's like the great grandson of Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. So, whose turn is it to read now? I lost track. I'm sorry.
I just,
You
Krishna
just
Chandra, I think.
yeah, thank you.
It's Krishna Chandra's turn now.
Oh, okay, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Lord Krishna fights with Banasura, chapter 8, or chapter 63 in the whole entire Krishna book.
When the 4 months of the rainy season passed, and still Annirudha had not returned home, all the members of the Yadu family became much perturbed. They could not understand how the boy was missing. Fortunately, one day, the great sage Narada came and informed the family about Aniruddha's disappearance from the palace. He explained how Annirudha had been carried to the city of Sonitapura, the capital of Banasura's empire, and how Banasura had arrested him with the Nagapasha, even though Annirudha had defeated his soldiers. This news was given in detail, and the whole story was disclosed. Then the members of the Yadu dynasty, all of whom had great affection for Krishna, prepared to attack the city of Shonitapura. Practically all the leaders of the family, including Pradyumna, Satyaki, Gada, Samba, Sarana, Nanda, Upananda, and Bhadra, combined together and gathered 18 Akshohini military divisions into phalanxes.
True.
Then they all went to Shonitapur and surrounded it with soldiers, elephants, horses, and chariots. Banasura heard that the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty were attacking the whole city, tearing down various walls, gates, and nearby gardens. Becoming very angry, he immediately ordered his soldiers, who were of equal caliber, to go and face them. Lord Shiva was so kind to Banasura that he had personally came as the commander-in-chief of the military force, assisted by his heroic sons, Kartikeya and Ganapati. Seated on his favorite bull, Nandishvara, Lord Shiva led the fighting against Lord Krishna and Balaram. We can simply imagine how fierce the fighting was. Lord Shiva with his valiant sons on one side, and Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his elder brother, Sri Balaramji, on the other. The fighting was so fierce that those who saw the battle were struck with wonder, and the hairs on their bodies stood up. Lord Shiva was engaged in fighting directly with Lord Krishna. Pradyumna was engaged with Kartikeya, and Lord Balaram was engaged with Banasura's commander-in-chief, Kumbhanda, who was assisted by Kupakarna. Samba, the son of Krishna, was engaged in fighting with the son of Banasura, and Banasura was engaged in fighting with Satyaki, commander-in-chief of the Yadu dynasty. In this way, the fight was waged.
So, Daneshwar Prabhu, I just wanted to inquire from you. So you've traveled across the Ukraine several times preaching Krishna consciousness, and you've also been through Russia as well. Today I saw a post on Facebook of an Indian gentleman working as a broadcaster interviewing a young 18-year-old or around 18 years old, because I've heard allegedly the young men, even devotee men, are being conscripted to fight, to join the Ukrainian army. And, you know, I've heard all these reports. It's not that Putin is pure. It's not that, you know, Zelensky in Ukraine is pure, excuse me. So, you know, I was thinking, well, this young Ukrainian young man with his gun is chanting Hare Krishna. The broadcaster is praising him, you know, like Arjuna, stand and fight, Arjuna. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. This is not a war that's being fought on religious principles. This is like one demon versus another demon. And I was feeling sorry for this devotee.
Well, you know, this is very much like the Vietnam War in our younger years. And many devotees, right? They were threatened with the draft. I was, who was I speaking with? One devotee, he was telling me that we were talking about David Kinandana, who was the cowman at Giranagari. He was also there at New Vrindavan, but he had come to take shelter of the devotees to escape the draft. And I've also heard from devotees in Ukraine that many young men, because they don't, before this war, when Ukraine, when they were attacking Donbass, which is, you know, their countrymen, many young men, they fled the country. And in those years, between 2014 and recently, the population of Ukraine went down several millions of people.
Wow.
Of course, many of those were from Donbass who fled to Russia to escape bombardment. And it was also the young men who fled from the draft. So, you know, this is always a situation, you know, where, we're people, you know, peons in the larger world, and the demons, they, as Prabhupada writes, you know, they smash the people against each other. So what can be done? I want to make a comment about that. About what we were just reading.
Yes.
But your question interrupted my thought. And I can't. What was the topic we were just reading?
We are reading about Shonitapur being destroyed.
Oh yeah.
There were...
You know, the Krishna and his army, they show up, and it seems like, immediately there's a fight without any diplomacy. There's no discussion of like, welcome, we're happy to see you. Come on inside. Can we offer you a seat and some water?
Right.
Or what brings you to the neighborhood?
Right.
Oh, your son is here. Oh, okay, let's talk about this. Immediately there's a fight. So,
Right.
Donbass, the whole Ukraine thing could be something like that.
Uh-huh. They just get right to it. No explanation. Nirhari and Baba Trini, were you able to finally sort things out?
Yes.
Oh,
Let
yay.
me.
Yay.
Okay.
So before we read further, did you have a comment to make about the first point I made about the importance of being men and women of our word, keeping our promises to others, to ourselves, and others to us? And was there anything on that point of integrity that you wanted to say?
Yeah. It's a bit controversial, though. Because it reminds me of, it reminds
Should we save it to the end of the class and continue reading? Because Srila Prabhupada told Baba Trini she's supposed to hear her Krishna book every day. So we want to make sure she gets her fix.
Right.
Her Krishna book fix. But I'm interested in hearing what you have to say, just depending upon how controversial it is.
It won't be too extensive.
No, it won't.
But it reminds me.
Everybody say something because it's not personal.
Okay. Did you want him to say it now, Baba Trini, or to save it till later?
Say it now because it's not going to make everybody want to say something.
Okay.
Just an interesting point.
What's your point, Nirhari Prabhu?
Hang on. I was remembering, it's actually somebody else's point. But it reminded me of grandsire Bhishma, who was so famous, his name, because of his promise to
never marry.
Yeah, father, son, and like that, all that happened. But also he promised to defend at all costs. He made a vow to defend the throne of Hastinapur. So that caused the war, actually. He was a man of his word, but there it is, Draupadi being enrolled in front of him. And all these Kshatriyas whose words were so important. So that's one thing, I just.
That's a very good point. Because, Mahabharata is full of dilemmas like this. Yeah. Which is the most important principle? And, of course, the disrobing of Draupadi is what an event there where you have Mahajans who are in attendance and they don't say anything, right? And so it calls into question which is the higher duty.
Right.
Does Prabhupada give any answer to that anybody knows?
Dr. Sarup Siddhar Maharaj was saying, the higher principle, like in the case of Arjuna, we know the story of Maharaj Yudhishthira too. He never uttered a lie. So it had to be right at the right moment when he says, Ashwatam, the elephant is dead. The elephant was obliterated by the horn, the conch shells being blown.
And someone had to kill an elephant.
Yeah. So they said that his chariot that was floating actually never touched the ground. Then it went down a bit. I don't know if it touched the ground.
It didn't touch.
It didn't touch the ground, but it went down.
I heard
so the higher
particular class myself. I was in the class. He said that Arjuna. Some people say Yudhishthira was the best devotee, but he was very famous for never telling a lie. But actually, Arjuna was the best devotee because he would do anything for Krishna. He would, So he told the story how Yudhishthira refused to lie. So when he said that Ashwatam, the elephant is dead, in order to keep him from lying, an elephant had to be killed. and who blew the conch shell so you couldn't hear him saying the elephant. So some people say because of that, his chariot lowered down. It still didn't touch the ground, but because he did that he like sort of lied. But actually, Prabhupada said the chariot went lower to the ground because he didn't surrender to Krishna.
So the point like Daneshwar was, and Daneshwar was right. What is the highest principle there? And if we remember the end of Bhagavad Gita says, whatever there is Arjuna and Krishna, remember the extraordinary opulence, also morality. And so, but what's the highest morality? And it's to follow, to please Krishna. And so in that case, Bhishma had that dilemma that, be truthful to his word. He got caught in it, he got caught in the vow, and then he became, opposite. He ended up in the opposite side. Although in the Bhagavad Gita by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that is pretty much what Narayana Maharaj spoke. It says that without Bhishma being on that side, that war wouldn't have happened probably. Duryodhana wouldn't have feel confident enough to go and fight, and which Krishna wanted that to happen. He wanted that all those Kshatriyas to be eliminated.
So back to the disrobing of Draupadi. Okay, there's Mahajans there, and they say nothing. And what's the higher principle there?
Right.
I mean, that's the even more bewildering one.
Right.
So they missed the point that Krishna was the most important.
Because why they said nothing? Because they were being taken care of. They were under the care of Duryodhana. Yes. And so because they were living in his house, they shouldn't say anything. But the disrobing, the dishonoring of Draupadi seems like it would have been a cause for, would have been the higher principle, rather.
Yes.
Oh.
And then
It was an awkward position for them, very awkward.
To say the least.
But then if you remember, and when Bhishma is in the bed of arrows, and he's propounding all this morality and all these principles of religious, Draupadi, she kind of like, really? I mean, where were you? So he said, yes, you're right. I suffered contamination because I partook of their
salt.
Yes.
Okay.
Partook of what?
Thank you.
Their food.
Ah.
He broke bread, like we said here, with them, with Duryodhana, with who were inimical to devotees. Arjuna is, the Yudhishthira, their devotees of Krishna. So Krishna won't take that too.
So
Bhishma said, now all my blood is all my blood is being drained, so all that is gone.
Wow.
Okay, but as a Mahajan, he didn't say anything. So these are the people, right? The 12 Mahajans. They are the keepers of religious principles.
Yes.
So I'm so confused why not saying anything to offend Duryodhana is a higher principle than protecting Draupadi.
Right.
Major, what do you think?
Hasn't it already?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, hasn't it already been covered in this, that the ultimate desire was Krishna's desire that this battle took place? So somehow or other, even though it appears that they were kind of adhering to a lower thing, ultimately they were fulfilling Krishna's desire also. They were playing the role and let the battle take place, even at the risk of their...
If that was on their mind at the time, okay, because I'm putting myself in their position, right? At that time, there's a wrongdoing taking place. They're Kshatriyas, honorable men. They're Mahajans. Are they thinking, let's see, we better keep our mouth shut, otherwise the battle won't take place?
No,
and
I don't think
higher
so.
principle.
No, it's divine ignorance. It's divine ignorance. It's ignorance, but it's divine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Divine ignorance. I haven't heard this one before.
Mugdata. It's called Mugdata. The Lord is Mugdata and Sarvagya. Mugdata means he's ignorant or innocent about certain things. That's due to Yoga Maya. That is, it's all to teach us what is the highest morality.
But in Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary in the Bhagavad Gita, he's speaking about Bhishma, and he's saying that one should not take vows as much as possible.
Well, Srila Maharaj.
No, Vishwanath he's getting that from Vishwanath Chakravarti in the Bhagavad Gita we've been reading. Yeah.
One should not take vows as much as possible.
Yeah, that's
So,
remember, I'm sorry, Dhanashar, go ahead.
If we claim divine ignorance, then you can roll that excuse out in so many situations. It seems like
baby. Whatever you want. Your cleared to the top to bottom.
But in the case of Draupadi, she said to him, who did you lose first? Did you lose yourselves?
Right.
So you couldn't lose me after you were lost. So, so so they shouldn't have done that, because even according to the rules of the game, they did not get Draupadi.
And if we remember how the Bhagavad Gita starts, is Arjuna propounding all these really high moral principles, isn't it? Like Krishna said, you're speaking like a learned, but you learned further. Rule number one, boom, trump card is starts to be.
So everyone's been getting on the case of Will Smith for slugging Chris Rock for denigrating his wife, but nobody's saying, but hey, Chris Rock, provoked. I'm not saying he was justified, but was he not trying to protect his wife's honor? I'm just putting that out there.
That's right.
He apologized.
But look at that. Will Smith has been studying Bhagavad Gita, and I saw this. And he said, this applies so well to my family. And I know the few worst things that could happen is within the family. I know that. It's like,
It's inevitable to hit the perplexities like this. All different conflicting things. They can only be harmonized ultimately in Sri Krishna, but we got to play these roles.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
When Srila Prabhupada gave the example of Yudhisthira and lying, and then he, in the same series of classes, he spoke about the birth of Veda Vyas, how nowadays so many women are becoming pregnant outside of wedlock. Well, this happened even 5,000 years ago. And then so that's how and then he started a lecture saying devotees are not moral. And he points to the picture of Lord Nrsimhadev and says, just see, here someone is killing Prahlad's father. Not only he's not protesting, but he's flower garlanding. This is not moral. So he was giving class after class on the difference between morality and
what's the highest morality.
And
nice.
Thank you, Baba Trini. That's nice.
Shikarani, we haven't heard from you tonight. Welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Okay, so who was the last to read? Did you read the? Oh no, Nirhari didn't. Did you read Nirhari? Bhavatrini? Did either of you read?
No, I haven't. We haven't. But it's up to you. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay. No, we'll start with you and then go to Sikarani. Unless you wanted to go first, it's up to you. All right. So I think we read this paragraph, right? Banasura heard. Right, all these different personalities were fighting against each other. So,
the other perplexing thing too is that Banasura, He's the son of Bali, isn't he? And when we hear
Yes.
this story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord sends Bali and all his family to Sutala Loka. And he said, live there peaceful with all your family and your descendants. And so I said, how did this happen now? That Bali, who's such a great devotee, has a son that is demoniac, but at the same time, we'll see how it develops, the story. It's really, really intricate. I love it.
Please read
It's a
one.
Surah Vangsha, though, right?
Please read one of you.
It is a Surah Vangsha, right? That is a Surah Vangsha.
Yeah.
What's that?
The dynasty of Surahs.
Oh, Vamsa. Okay, sorry. Surah Vamsa. Yeah.
Bhavatrini, will you read or will Nurhari read?
I will.
Hurry.
News of the fighting spread all over the universe. Demigods such as Lord Brahma and higher planetary systems, along with great sages and saintly persons, Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas, all being very curious to see the fight between Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna, and their assistants, were hovering over the battlefield in their airplanes. Lord Shiva is called Bhutanatha, being assisted by various types of powerful ghosts and denizens of the inferno, Bhutas, Pretas, Pramatas, Kuhyakas, Dakinis, Pishachas, Kushmandas, Vitalas, Vinayakas, and Brahma Rakshasas. All kinds of ghosts. The Brahma Rakshasas are very powerful. Brahmanas transferred to the role of ghosts become Brahma Rakshasas. There's many stories of this, even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples fighting with them. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, simply drove all these ghosts away from the battlefield, beating them with his celebrated bow, Sargadanu. Lord Shiva then began to release all his selected weapons upon the Personality of Godhead. Lord Sri Krishna, without any difficulty, counteracted all these weapons with counter weapons. They counteracted the Brahmastra, similar to the atomic bomb, by another Brahmastra, and an air weapon by a mountain weapon. Then, when Lord Shiva released a particular weapon bringing about a violent hurricane on the battlefield, Lord Krishna presented just the opposite element, a mountain weapon which checked the hurricane on the spot. Similarly, when Lord Shiva released his weapon of devastating fire, Krishna counteracted it with torrents of rain. Continue on? Or?
No. At last, when Lord Shiva released his personal weapon called Pashupata Shastra, Krishna immediately counteracted it with the Narayanaya Shastra. Shiva then became exasperated in fighting with Lord Krishna. Krishna then took the opportunity to release his yawning weapon. When this weapon is released, the opposing party becomes tired, stops fighting, and begins to yawn. Consequently, Lord Shiva became so fatigued that he refused to fight anymore and began to yawn. Krishna was now able to turn his attention from the attack of Lord Shiva to the efforts of Banasura, and he began to kill his personal soldiers with swords and clubs. Meanwhile, Lord Krishna's son Pradyumna was fighting fiercely with Kartikeya, the commander-in-chief of the demigods. Kartikeya was wounded and his body was bleeding profusely. In this condition, he left the battlefield and without fighting anymore, rode away on the back of his peacock carrier. Similarly, Lord Balaram was smashing Banasura's commander-in-chief, Kumbanda, with strokes of his club. Kupakarna was also wounded in this way, and both he and Kumbanda fell on the battlefield. The commander-in-chief being fatally wounded without guidance, all Banasura's soldiers scattered here and there.
When Banasura
saw that his soldiers and commanders had been defeated, his anger only increased. he thought it wise to stop fighting with Satyaki, Krishna's commander-in-chief, and instead directly attacked Lord Krishna. Now, having the opportunity to use his 1,000 hands, he rushed towards Krishna, simultaneously working 500 bows and 2,000 arrows. Such a foolish person could never measure Krishna's strength. Immediately, without any difficulty, Krishna cut each of Vanasura's bows into pieces, and to check him from going further, made his chariot horses lay on the ground. The chariot then broke to pieces. After doing this, Krishna blew his conch shell, Panchajanya.
Shikarani?
Comment there.
Yes.
It's always interesting. Krishna, when he fights with his devotees, he doesn't.
When he fights with his devotees, what? Your voice went out. When Krishna fights with his devotees,
doesn't kill them.
Daneshwar?
He does not kill them. He does not kill them, but he curbs their pride. So in his fight with Indra, with Lord Brahma, well, didn't fight with Lord Brahma, but here in the fight with Lord Shiva. So he doesn't kill them like he does with the demons.
He kills their pride.
He puts them in their place.
Cuts them down a notch. Thank you. Shikarani, are you ready?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. There was a demigoddess named Kotara who was worshipped by Banasura, and their relationship was mother and son. Mother Kotara was upset that Banasura's life is in danger, so she appeared on the scene with naked body and scattered hair. She stood before Lord Krishna. Sri Krishna did not like the sight of this naked woman, and to avoid seeing her, he turned his face. Banasura, getting this chance to escape Krishna's attack, left the battlefield. All the strings of his bows were broken, and there was no chariot or driver. So he had no alternative than to return to his city. He lost everything in the battle. Being greatly harassed by the arrows of Krishna, all the associates of Lord Shiva, the hobgoblins and ghostly bhutas, pretas, and kshatriyas left the battlefield. Known as Shivarajya, which destroys by excessive temperature, it is said that at the end of this creation, the sun becomes 12 times more scorching than usual. This 12 times hotter temperature is called Shiva Jwara. Okay, Shiva Jwara. When the Shiva Jwara personified was released, he had 3 heads and 3 legs, and he came towards Krishna. As he came towards Krishna, it appeared that he was burning everything into ashes. He was so powerful that he made blazing fire appear in all directions. And Krishna observed that he was specifically coming toward him. As there is a Shiva Jwara weapon, there is also Narayan Jwara. Narayan Jwara is presented by excessive cold. When there is excessive heat, one can somehow or other tolerate it, but when there is excessive cold, everything collapses. This is actually experienced by a person at the time of death. At the time of death, the temperature of the body, first of all, increases to 107 degrees, and then the whole body collapses and immediately becomes as cold as ice. To counteract the scorching heat of the Shiva Jwara, there is no other weapon but Narayan Jwara.
When Lord Krishna saw that the Shiva Jwara had been released by Lord Shiva, he had no other recourse than to release Narayan Jwara. Lord Sri Krishna is the original Narayan and the controller of the Narayan Jwara weapon. When the Narayan Jwara was released, there was a great fight between the two Jwaras. When excessive heat is counteracted by extreme cold, it is natural for the hot temperature to gradually reduce. And this is what occurred in the fight between Shiva Jwara and Narayan Jwara. Gradually, Shiva Jwara's temperature diminished, and Shiva Jwara began to cry for help from Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva was unable to help him. in the presence of the Narayan. Unable to get any help from Lord Shiva, the Shiva could understand that he had no means of escape outside surrendering unto Narayan. Lord Krishna himself, Lord Shiva, the greatest of the demigods, could not help him. What to speak of the lesser demigods? And therefore Shiva ultimately surrendered unto Krishna, bowing before him and offering a prayer that the Lord might be pleased and give him protection. Danishwar Prabhu?
By this incidence of the fight between the ultimate weapons of Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna, it is proved that if Lord Krishna gives someone protection, no one can kill him. But if Krishna does not give one any protection, then no one can save him. Lord Shiva is called Mahadev, the greatest of all demigods, although sometimes Lord Brahma is considered the greatest of all demigods because he can create, whereas Lord Shiva can annihilate the creations of Brahma. But both Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva act only in one capacity. Lord Brahma can create and Lord Shiva can annihilate, but neither of them can maintain. Lord Vishnu, however, not only maintains, but he creates and annihilates all. Actually, the creation is not affected by Brahma because Brahma himself is created by Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva is created for Brahma. The Shiva thus understood that with Krishna, no one would help him. He therefore rightly took shelter of Lord Krishna and with folded hands began to pray as follows. My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you because you have unlimited potencies. No one can surpass potencies, and thus you are the Lord. Generally, people consider...
Your voice is gone. Are you there? Hello? You went out. You're out of range. Generally, people consider Lord Shiva to be the most powerful.
Lord Shiva to be...
Are you there?
Maybe somebody else should then. I don't have stable connection.
Oh, okay.
Can you? Somebody else should speak.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Please continue, Krishna Chandra. Read a paragraph and then Divija Gauranga.
Continue from where Danishwar Prabhu was.
You are all powerful.
Thank you. You are all powerful. This is factual. You are the original consciousness or knowledge. Without knowledge or consciousness, nothing can be powerful. A material thing might be very powerful, but without the touch of knowledge or consciousness, it cannot act. A material machine may be very gigantic and wonderful, but without the touch of someone conscious and in knowledge, the material machine is useless for all purposes. My Lord, you are complete knowledge, and there is not a pinch of material contamination in your personality. Lord Shiva may be a powerful demigod because of his specific power to annihilate the whole creation. And similarly, Lord Brahma may be very powerful because he can create the entire universe. But actually, neither Brahma nor Lord Shiva is the original cause of this cosmic manifestation. You are the absolute truth, the supreme Brahman, and you are the original cause. The original cause of the cosmic manifestation is not the impersonal Brahman effulgence. That impersonal Brahman effulgence is resting on your personality. As is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, the cause of the impersonal Brahman is Lord Krishna. This Brahman effulgence is likened to the sunshine which emanates from the sun globe. Therefore, impersonal Brahman is not the ultimate cause. The ultimate cause of everything is the supreme eternal form of Krishna. All material actions and reactions are taking place in the impersonal Brahman. But in the personal Brahman, the eternal form of Krishna, there is no action and reaction. My Lord, your body is therefore completely peaceful, completely blissful, and is devoid of material contamination.
Vijay Garanga.
In the material body, there are actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. The time factor is the most important element and is above all others because the material manifestation is affected by time agitation. Thus, natural phenomena come into existence, and as soon as there is the appearance of phenomena, fruitive activities are visible. As the result of these fruitive activities, a living entity takes his form. He acquires a particular type of nature, which is packed up in a single body and gross body formed by the life air. The ego, the 10 sense organs, the mind, and the 5 gross elements. These then create the type of body which later becomes the root or cause of various other bodies, which are acquired one after another by the transmigration of the soul. All these phenomenal manifestations are the combined actions of your material energy. Unaffected by the action and reaction of different elements, you are the cause of this external energy. And because you are transcendental to such compulsions of material energy, you are the supreme tranquility. You are the last word in freedom from material contamination. I am therefore taking shelter at your lotus feet, giving up all other shelter. My dear.
Okay, where are we? My dear Lord. My dear Lord, your appearance as the son of Vasudeva in your role as a human being is one of the pastimes of your complete freedom. To benefit your devotees and to vanquish the non-devotees, you appear in multi-incarnations. All such incarnations descend in fulfillment of your promise in the Bhagavad Gita, that you appear as soon as there are discrepancies in the system of progressive life. When there are disturbances by irregular principles, my dear Lord, you appear by your internal potency. Your main business is to protect and maintain the demigods and spiritually inclined persons and maintain the standard of material law and order. Simultaneous to the maintenance of such law and order, your violence to the main miscreants and demons is quite fitting. This is not the first time you have incarnated. It is to be understood that you have done so many times before.
Bhavatrini?
Can you scroll? Okay. My dear Lord.
Yeah, my dear Lord.
Okay. My dear Lord, I beg to submit that I have been very greatly chastised by the release of your Narayana Jara. It is certainly very cooling, yet at the same time very severely dangerous and unbearable for all of us. My dear Lord, as long as one is forgetful of Krishna consciousness, driven by the spell of material, ignorant of the ultimate shelter at your lotus feet, one who has accepted this material body becomes disturbed by the 3 miserable conditions of material nature. Because one does not surrender unto you, he therefore continues to suffer perpetually.
I'm not sure how many paragraphs we have left here. That's why I cut Dvija Garanga short. I'm sorry, Dvija. I cut you.
That's fine. No worries.
Okay. Well, did you just finish with prayers? Is that the last word you read?
I just read, my dear Lord. The second.
Okay. So please read another paragraph.
Okay. After hearing the Shiva Dwara, Lord Krishna replied, O 3-headed one, I am pleased by your statement. Be assured, there is no more suffering for you from the Narayan Dwara. Not only are you now free from fear of Narayan Dwara, but anyone in the future who simply recollects this fight between Shiva Dwara and Narayan Dwara will also be freed from all kinds of fearfulness. After hearing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Shiva Dwara offered his respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet and left. Wonder where he went.
Ananda, Dave, and then Shikarani.
In the meantime, Banasura somehow or other recovered from his setbacks and, with rejuvenated energy, returned to fight. This time, Banasura appeared before Lord Krishna, who was seated on his chariot with different kinds of weapons in his 1,000 hands. Banasura was very much agitated. He began to splash his weapons like torrents of rain upon the body of Lord Krishna. When Lord Krishna saw the weapons of Manasura coming at him like water coming out of a strainer, he took his sharp Sudarshan disc and began to cut off the demon's 1,000 hands, one after another, just as a gardener trims the twigs of a tree with sharp cutters. When Lord Shiva saw that his devotee Banasura could not be saved even in his presence, he came to his senses and personally came before Lord Krishna and began to pacify him by offering the following prayers. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Lord, you are the worshipable object of the Vedic hymns. One who does not know one who does not know you considers the impersonal Brahmajyoti to be the ultimate supreme absolute truth without any knowledge that you are existing to have spiritual devotion in your body. By my my dear Lord, you are therefore called Param Brahman. This word Param Brahman has been used in the Bhagavad Gita to identify you. A saintly person who have completely cleansed their hearts of all material contamination can realize your transcendental form, although you are all pervading like the sky, unaffected by any material thing. Only the devotees can realize you, and no one else. In the impersonalist conception of your supreme existence, the sky is just like your navel, the fire is your mouth, and the water is your semina. The heavenly planets are your head, and all the directions are your ears. The Urvi planet is your lotus feet. The moon is your mind, and the sun is your eye. As far as I am concerned, I act as your ego. The ocean is your abdomen, and the king of heaven, Indra, is your arm. Trees and plants are the hairs of your body. The cloud is the hair on your head, and Lord Brahma is your intelligence. All the great progenitors, known as Prajapatis, are your symbolic representatives, and religion is your heart. The impersonal feature of your supreme body is conceived of in this way, but you are ultimately the supreme person. The impersonal feature of your supreme body is only a small expansion of your energy. You are likened to the original fire, and the expansions are your light and heat.
Shikarani.
Yeah. Lord Shiva continued, My dear Lord, although you are manifested universally, different parts of the universe are the different parts of your body. And by your inconceivable potential, you can simultaneously be both localized and universal. In the Brahma Samhita, we also find it stated that although you always remain in your abode Goloka Vrindavana, you are nevertheless present everywhere. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you appear to protect the devotees, which indicates good fortune for all the universe. All of the demigods are directing different affairs of the universe by your grace only. Thus, the 7 upper planetary systems are being maintained by your grace. At the end of this creation, all manifestations of your energies whether in the shape of demigods, human beings, or lower animals, enter into you. And all immediate and remote causes of cosmic manifestation rest in you, without distinctive features of existence. Ultimately, there is no possibility of distinction between yourself and any other thing on an equal level with you or subordinate to you. You are simultaneously the cause of this cosmic manifestation and its ingredients as well. You are the supreme whole, one without a second. In the phenomenal manifestation, there are three stages: the stage of consciousness, the stage of semi consciousness in dreaming, and the stage of unconsciousness. But your lordship is transcendental to all these different material stages of existence. You exist, therefore, in a fourth dimension, and your appearance and disappearance do not depend on anything beyond yourself. You are the supreme cause of everything, but for yourself there is no cause. You yourself cause your own appearance and disappearance. Despite your transcendental position, my lord, in order to show your six opulences and advertise your transcendental qualities, you have appeared in your different incarnations: fish, tortoise, boar, Narsimha, Keshava, etc., by your personal manifestation. And you have appeared as different living entities by your separated manifestations. By your internal potential, you appear as the different incarnations of Vishnu, and by your external potential, you appear as the phenomenal world. Because it is a cloudy day to the common man's eyes, the sun appears to be covered, but the fact is that because of the sunshine creates a cloud, even though the whole sky is cloudy, the sun can never actually be covered. Similarly, the less intelligent class of men claims that there is no God. But when the manifestation of different living entities and their activities is visible, enlightened persons see you present in every atom and through the via media of your external and marginal energies. Your unlimited potential activities are experienced by the most enlightened devotees, but those who are bewildered by the spell of your external energy identify themselves with this material world and become attached to society, friendship, and love. Thus, they embrace the threefold miseries of material existence and are subjected to the dualities of pain and pleasure. They are sometimes drowned in the ocean of attachment and sometimes taken out of it.
My dear Lord, only by your mercy and grace can the living entity get the human form of life, which is a chance to get out of the miserable condition of material existence. However, a person who possesses a human body but who cannot bring the senses under control is carried away by the waves of sensual enjoyment. As such, he cannot take shelter of your lotus feet and thus engage in your devotional service. The life of such a person is very unfortunate, and anyone living such a life of darkness is certainly cheating himself and thus cheating others also. Therefore, human society without Krishna consciousness is a society of cheaters and cheated. Lord, you are actually the dearmost super soul of all living entities and the supreme controller of everything. Actually, Dineshwar, did you want to try again to see if you can make it through, or if your voice is going to cut out?
Okay, let me try. Let's see.
My Lord.
My Lord, you are actually the dearmost super soul of all living entities and the supreme controller of everything. The human being who is always illusioned is afraid of ultimate death. A man who is simply attached to sensual enjoyment voluntarily accepts the miserable material existence and thus wanders after the will-o'-the-wisp of sense pleasure. He is certainly the most foolish man, for he drinks poison and puts aside the nectar. My dear Lord, all the demigods, including myself and Lord Brahma, as well as the great saintly persons and sages who have cleansed their hearts of this material attachment, have, by your grace, wholeheartedly taken shelter of your lotus feet. We have all taken shelter of you because we have accepted you as the Supreme Lord and the dearmost life and soul of all of us. You are the original cause of this cosmic manifestation. You are its supreme maintainer, and you are the cause of its dissolution also. You are equal to everyone, the most peaceful, supreme friend of every living entity. You are the supreme worshipable object for every one of us. My dear Lord, let us always be engaged in your transcendental loving service so that we may get free from this material entanglement. Lastly, my Lord, I may inform you that this Banasura is very dear to me. He has rendered very valuable service unto me, and therefore I want to see him always happy. Being pleased with him, I have given him the assurance of safety. I pray to you, my Lord, that as you were pleased upon his forefathers, King Prahlad and Bali Maharaj, you will also be pleased with him.
Krishna Chand.
After hearing Lord Shiva's prayer, Lord Krishna addressed him also as Lord and said, "My dear Lord Shiva, I accept your statements, and your desire for Banasura is also accepted by me. I know that this Banasura is the son of Bali Maharaj, and as such, I cannot kill him because that is my promise. I gave a benediction to King Prahlad that all the demons who would appear in his family would never be killed by me. Therefore, without killing this Banasura, I have simply cut off his arms to deprive him of his false prestige. The large number of soldiers which he was maintaining became a burden on this earth, and I have killed them all in order to minimize the burden. Now he has 4 remaining arms, and he will remain immortal without being affected by the material pains and pleasures. I know that he is one of the chief devotees of your lordship, so you can now rest assured that henceforward he need have no fear from anything." When Banasura was benedicted by Lord Krishna in this way, he came before the Lord and bowed down before him, touching his head to the earth. He immediately arranged to bring Annirudha along with his daughter Usha, seated on a nice chariot, and presented them before Lord Krishna. After this, Lord Krishna took charge of Annirudha and Usha, who had become very opulent materially because of his blessings of Lord Shiva, thus keeping forward a division of 1 Akshauhini of soldiers. Krishna began to proceed toward Dwarka. In the meantime, all the people of Dwarka, having received the news that Lord Krishna was returning with Annirudha and Usha in great opulence, decorated every corner of the city with flags, festoons, and garlands. All the big roads and crossings were carefully cleansed and sprinkled with sandalwood pulp mixed with water. Everywhere there was the flavor of sandalwood. All the citizens, accompanied by their friends and relatives, welcomed Lord Krishna with great pomp and jubilation. At that time, there was a tumultuous vibration of conch shells and drums and bugles to receive the Lord. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, entered his capital, Dwarka.
So, Nrihari and Bhavatrini, why don't you each read 1 paragraph and we're done.
Okay. Sukadeva Goswami assured King Parikshit that the narration of the fight between Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna is not at all inauspicious like ordinary fights. On the contrary, if one remembers the narration of this fight between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva in the morning and takes pleasure in the victory of Lord Krishna, he will never experience defeat anywhere in his struggle of life.
This episode of Banasura's fighting with Krishna and later on being saved by the grace of Lord Shiva is confirmation of the statement in the Bhagavad Gita that the worshippers of demigods cannot achieve any benediction without its being sanctioned by the Supreme Lord Krishna. Here in this narration, we find that although Banasura was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, when he faced death by Krishna, Lord Shiva was not able to save him. But Lord Shiva appealed to Krishna to save his devotee, and it was thus sanctioned by the Lord. This is the position of Lord Krishna. The exact words used in this connection in the Bhagavad Gita are Mayava Vihitan Hitan. This means that without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, no demigod can award any big benediction to the worshiper. Thus ends.
Yes. Go ahead.
Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second volume, 8th chapter of Krishna. Lord Krishna fights with Banasura.
Any reflection on what you just read, Bhavatrini, on this last paragraph?
Well, we better read that every morning.
Oh, yes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes. But here he's speaking again about keeping your word, and Krishna says how important it is to keep your promise. So, but it also is, it's very complete.
Lord Shiva's a good friend to have in your back pocket.
I make a quick comment?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to mention there's also a glorification of Krishna by Shiva in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24.
Mm-hmm.
You want to read? That would be too long.
Yeah, no, it's 9:30 here now. It's late. Any closing words from anyone? Daneshwar Prabhu, any final thoughts on all that we read about Banasura?
Well, I was thinking that last paragraph also, that I'm going to open my Kindle to this chapter, the end of this chapter, and I'm going to start reading it every morning as I wake up. And there's one devotee in England. Gaura, perhaps you mentioned him, that he's promoting the worship of Lord Shiva.
Oh, he's our god brother, Ramanath Sukha Prabhu. He's big on, because Shivaram Maharaj has installed Gopeshwara Mahadev at New Vraj in Hungary. So Ramanath Sukha wants to do the same for Soho Street and for Manor, but they wouldn't even let him talk on Shivaratri this year about Lord Shiva. They were saying, well, Prabhupada never did that, so we better not glorify Lord Shiva on Shivaratri. So
I can understand that because there's many Indians that come who are not fully conversant or who have adopted Prabhupada's perspective of our understanding.
But what could be a better day to strengthen out their Shiva Tattva understanding than Shivaratri? What do you think?
Well, yeah, especially if they read these prayers of Lord Shiva to Lord Krishna. But in my experience, they go much more on tradition than what they're reading.
Yeah.
The chapter, it says that no one should worship the demigods separate from Krishna, because no benediction, no result of even Lord Shiva can be given without the sanction or approval of Krishna. So no separate worshiping of Lord Shiva, but as the topmost pure devotee of Krishna, we worship him the same way we worship the spiritual master.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dvija had something to say.
Oh, yes.
Can't hear you, Dvija. You're muted. You're muted yourself.
Sorry about that.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say that each personality being worshipped, the worshiper has a particular kind of, you could say, material contamination that would induce them to see that particular personality as supreme. Their own, they have their own agenda that is best fulfilled in a material way from a particular demigod. So it's not going to be a quick or easy fix as far as just read this and be straightened out. It goes deep. It goes deep into the psyche. It goes deep into our how we operate, how we work and live.
You're speaking about the Indians, Prabhu? Is that what you're referring to?
Any entity, it's pretty much cross racially, but that is there, since we see a sort of predominance of that particular characteristic within that society, you could say. But it's going to be applicable to anyone who somehow we will gravitate towards particular personalities to admire based on our own conditioning.
Yeah, when I was saying that I would read this every morning, because I was thinking in terms of achieving some success with my desire to please Srila Prabhupada in his establishing his mission.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it works perfectly well. It dovetails exactly into that, especially because we are integrated with a community which has this particular predilection. I think it's perfect. I think it's brilliant.
Chikarani, you're coming from a Vedic family. Did they worship Lord Krishna, Radha Krishna, as much as Lord Shiva, or was there more emphasis on Lord Shiva in your family in Bihar?
Bihar is big Lord Shiva.
Yeah, there is a very big one of the siblings there out of the 12 siblings. So it's in Vaidyanath Dham. And now it is Jharkhand. Like Bihar was separated into 2 states. But yeah, like people will walk like 10 days barefoot just to reach that temple for so many days. And they would just eat or drink whatever they get on the way. And yeah, so there is that thing where like people have a lot of faith in Shiva. But in my family, if I see, it's not even just Shiva. Like as Prabhu was telling, people usually worship God according to their desires. So if there is a student, they will always worship
Saraswati.
Lord Saraswati. If there is somebody like who is more like a brahmachari, they will worship Lord Hanuman. If there is somebody who is more like wants a good husband, they will worship Lord Shiva. If there is a lady who wants more empowerment, she would worship Lord Durga. If yeah, so it goes on like that. It depends. Some people will also worship Navagraha according to their astrology for the different planetary systems like Jupiter, Saturn, or whatever. But I think, I don't know why, but since childhood, like I am associated with ISKCON since I would say 4 or 5 years now. But since childhood, I had that sense from somewhere that I never used to ask God for anything, because I was like, I don't know if whatever I am asking for is good for me. I used to just tell God, do whatever is good for my life and just make me your devotee.
And that's why he brought you to Prabhupada.
Yeah. So I always used to ask, just like, keep me on the path of dharma and take me in your shelter. That's the only thing I have ever asked for in my life.
Very nice.
Very good.
Yeah, Prabhupada said that Shiva Tattva is one of the most difficult to understand. Very complex.
Yeah. Yeah. My mother worships Shiva, but she worships Shiva more like a spiritual guru. She doesn't worship him like a lord or God.
Oh, then that's perfect worship then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you see how even Lord Krishna addresses him as Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a difference between milk and yogurt. So
And also
you make yogurt out of milk, but you can't make milk out of yogurt.
Right. But also there's Hari Harai.
Oh yeah, Mayapur.
There's
that's the final resting place.
Incarnation.
Yeah, there is an island.
Combination, Lord Shiva and Lord.
Where is that, please?
It's in Navadvip, one of the islands. It's one of the temples that in Parikrama all Gaudiya Vaishnavas go to visit. And the deity is this really amazing deity, is half white, half black. But then the black part has a white eyebrows, and the white part has black. And there they said that's the spot where Lord Shiva wanted to know how Mohini, how Krishna is, how she's so powerful. So Krishna showed us a whole pastime about that. But that's the place that Lord Shiva actually went after Mount Kailash and after Kashi. He goes there to Navadvip. So in Navadvip Mahatmya by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we learned that Navadvip is actually the center where all the incarnations, all demigods reside. They want to be there. The rest of the other places of pilgrimage now have lost their potency, as this Kali Yuga has done, and Lord Krishna has appeared again, only just 500 years ago. Lord Shiva, everybody wants to be there, and they have been there since time immemorial. So how interesting, I mean, the places. And
Mayapur is after Maya.
Maya, yeah, his concert.
She went and meditated there so she could see Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, because what the book begins where Lord Shiva gets a little Maha Prasad from Narada Muni, gives him Maha from Lord Vishnu, and he enters such ecstatic emotions that starts dancing, and Parvati had to stop him because he was about to destroy the universe in his ecstatic dance. And what's going on? What happened here? Although she kind of knew. He said, "Oh, I was given some Mahaprasad and there's nothing for me," she asked. He said, "What?" And so she gets so upset, and she goes. He said, "If next time," he said, I will give it not only to you but to everyone." And so she goes to Navadvip to meditate, to do penances, and finally Lord Gauranga appears to her. And so the name always has been Mayapur in her honor, where she promised. So that promise came about.
No, it was very difficult to get the remnants of Vishnu.
It's impossible.
Almost impossible.
But due to Durga, sorry,
Parvati, Durga. Go ahead.
Because of her, now we're benefiting, because she actually made it possible that great personality, Mahaprabhu, and his prasad, all this, and it's been now broadcast and given to all without regards to qualification.
Beautiful.
Oh. Thank you. So we'll be going back to Nectar of Instruction, verse number 6, this Friday. So I hope everyone can make it for that.
I just have a book that was in our storage here the other day from 1986, and it doesn't say Upadeshamrita, it says Nectar of Instruction, and I'm noticing that the translations are different than what we're reading.
But it's a book.
It's an ISKCON book, yeah. And on the exchanges by devotees, it doesn't say to exchange your mind in confidence. It actually says to exchange your ideas of how to do devotional service.
Really?
Yeah.
Perhaps you could bring that and we can look at that Friday. I'm curious to hear that.
We have it downstairs.
Yeah.
An editor's work is never done. Forever and ever.
Unfortunately.
It's a joke, but in another sense, it's not a joke. All right, my obeisances to everyone. See you Friday, Krishna willing. Vanchakalpa.